In the Emmy race for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Limited Series or Movie, Tony and Charlie, you have Jesse Plemons second. Can you explain that?
I put Jesse Plemons in second simply because, just simply out of sheer desire. He would be the one I would want to win this category. But I mean, this episode of USS Callister of Black Mirror, the USS Callister episode, is one of the best episodes of the series. It has, it's probably going to win TV movie through a category situation, which makes no sense, but whatever. And it's most likely going to win writing. And I just don't feel like any of the other nominees really, have a project that has that profile. So that's why I have Plemons in second.
I have Plemons in second because it's been very well. It was very well regarded. Plemons is someone who has been on the Emmy radars. He was nominated a couple years ago for Fargo, and of course, he was on those last couple seasons of Breaking Bad, the ones that actually won drama series. But also, his star is also just really rising in terms of just getting noticed. He had a really big standout role in the film Game Night, which even critics that didn't like that movie were very, very big in their praise for his comedic performance in that movie. So I just think he's someone who who's just accumulated a lot of goodwill over the years, and it could potentially, if there is an upset in this category, potentially, possibly bloom on Emmy night.
Now, Darren Criss is the front runner, but going to you, Charlie, again, tell me why you don't think Benedict Cumberbatch is the most likely upset. I think you actually have him at fourth.
I think I do. I think that there's been a lot of mixed reaction to Patrick Melrose. It also just feels like a lot of the nominations that Patrick Melrose received were kind of like people just checking it off rather than actually truly embracing the program. But he is a past winner, and he's someone who I think deserves to be on the radar for this. I think it would slightly shock me, and not the pleasant kind of shock, like if Kyle MacLachlan won in a write-in vote.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I know. I just had to throw that out. With one mention. That's all it's going to be. That's why I think I have him down in fourth. Who do I have in three? Do I have Jeff Daniels at three?
Oh, I'm not sure, actually. Zach, tell me, why is Darren Criss the front runner, and do you think that there's any stopping him?
Well, I think he's the front runner simply by virtue of the fact that Assassination of Gianni Versace is the front runner to win limited series. And I mean, he really does carry that show on his shoulders. And he is really, really good in it. I mean, it's unlike anything we've seen him do before. The problem, though, is that...
You mean Glee, or have you seen him in something else?
What can I say? I was trying to be a little generous there when I said anything we've seen him in. Other than that remarkable interview I did with him during the last season of Glee, that was the... But I think the thing that could hurt him is that, Andrew Cunanan is a profoundly unlikable character. Much to the credit of the show, they don't try to offer up psychobabble analysis to try to explain why it is that he killed these 5 innocent people, other than the fact that he was a raging narcissist with delusions of grandeur. I don't think there's a spoiler in the bunch, but I just decided that if anybody could beat him, it's probably the person who's playing the most likable character in all of fiction. That's John Legend as Jesus Christ Superstar. Because... other than a write-in vote for Kyle MacLachlan, of course. But
they would discard, so don't do it.
I know. But I get, the reason I put John Legend there is just because I figured that of all the contenders in there, with, I guess, the possible exception of Jesse Plemons, Jesus Christ Superstar really did overperform, especially in the acting categories. So, and I mean, I think that barring some kind of an unforeseen incident or act of God, Jesus Christ Superstar is going to win the Emmy for Variety Special, which he'll get his EGOT anyway. But perhaps people want to see him on stage accepting an award during the telecast. So I don't know.
Couldn't that category be on the telecast though? They sometimes do.
Is it?
They usually They usually switch the writing and directing ones. So this year they'll have writing and directing Variety Special on the main telecast, and writing and directing Variety Series will be at the Creative Arts.
But it's not the actual Variety Special live.
They don't do the actual. As far as I know, they don't do the actual program.
I think they've done it in the past. I've sworn I've seen them.
I don't see it.
But not in the most recent guild agreements.
Well, anyway, I mean, perhaps
with 3 people about to get an EGOT, they might move it up. You never know. They put TV movie in the creative, so it's possible.
Okay, Amanda, size up this category.
I mean, this is a weak field. I think we all know that. I think Robert De Niro wishes The Wizard of Lies came out this year because he would easily win against any of these 5 people. But I think Darren Criss has got the TCA nomination. It's a very transformative performance. And if you only know him from Glee, that's not really a bad thing in this situation, because to go from playing some kind of bopping around teenager to a person who killed 5 people, that's going to shock some people, because that's quite the transformation in a few years. And I think Benedict Cumberbatch is the spoiler. I hated Patrick Melrose. I think the fact that Jennifer Jason Leigh, I think it is, didn't get nominated tells you everything you need to know about that show. But they do love him. Antonio Banderas would be an interesting choice, but I don't know why they would award Genius this year. And we don't need to discuss the first person. But it looks good for Darren Criss, and it'll be interesting to see a half Asian actor win. I've heard a lot of people have been complaining that a white actor was going to win if Darren Criss won, and he's half Filipino. So, including
my Chinese roommate, it should be said. So he fooled even them.
Yeah, not all half Asians look half Asian.
Yeah.
well, I just felt bad that they're like, it would be so nice if John Legend or Antonio Banderas won, so a minority would win this category. And yes, it would be nice to see either of them win because they give great performances. But Darren Criss should not be disregarded. Not that we need to get into an ethnicity conversation, but it is just something that people are just, bypassing about him.
Well, I will say one of the things about the performance that does stand out is that he doesn't look a lot like the real Andrew Cunanan. Like the real Andrew Cunanan, I can see where if you held the two of them up side by side, you'd say, oh, well, he doesn't look at all like him. But he really does become this character in a really eerie and creepy way.
And I saw an interview with it, and he's like, yeah, I know I really should be about 15 to 20 pounds thicker at this point, because Ryan Murphy's like, we don't have time for you to gain 20 pounds and lose it quickly. But when he heard that Andrew Cunanan was half Filipino, he's like, I dare you to find someone else for this, because he wanted the role that badly. He just knew that this was, kind of made for him, kind of lucky for him. But yeah, I'm sorry, I'll let you go.
He really is playing a chameleon, so he gets to play kind of a lot of different characters, and also he gets to play his own character at different points in his life. I would say what hurts him is the slap the stud factor, and I also don't think that Darren Criss has the cool factor, even if he is young and on the rise and that kind of thing. I think he's different than Riz Ahmed from last year. I'm actually predicting an upset, unlike all of you, for Benedict Cumberbatch for Patrick Melrose. Because even though it didn't get any supporting nominations, it did get into series. It got writing, directing, casting. Like, it got the big ones, which I think surprised us because of how polarizing the show is. And I say polarizing because apparently some people like it, but it didn't really register with any of us in a positive manner. But yeah, that role is it's got tons of snob appeal, and it's a lot more sympathetic than Darren Criss, who's playing a master manipulator and serial killer. Benedict Cumberbatch is playing a V2 survivor who struggles with that his entire life and struggles with addiction because of it. And the first episode and the finale contain more bait than any other episode of television that you'll see this year. It's just an acting exercise, And I was pretty surprised by the finale. I was actually quite moved by it.
I mean, the finale is the best episode. I will say that, but I did not like him in the first one personally, because there's just so much. I mean, seriously, if voters even watch it and they only watch the first episode, I didn't want to sit through the next ones, but I did.
And that's the big question, is how many people actually watched it? I mean, the ratings for this thing were anemic. I think there's more people. There's more people on this video chat than actually might have actually watched the series in real time. I
did not watch it in real time, just to make that.
The thing that I don't think the Slap the Stud hurt, Riz Ahmed, for all intents and purposes, kind of belied that last year. Because here he is in a category of a lot of, older, more established actors, and they went for him. And I think Criss is just completely, I think he's undeniable, frankly. And, a lot of people are aware, particularly in Los Angeles. Darren Criss, we joke that, the guy from Glee is now a serial killer. But people don't remember he has done quite a bit of theater, including a very acclaimed turn as Hedwig, both on Broadway and in the national tour that played for quite a good deal of time in LA. So, that combined with, it is just the dominant performance in this category. I just don't think there's enough. They nominated Patrick Melrose for writing and directing because what else were they going to nominate?
Howard's End? That might have been an interesting.
Besides that.
They could have nominated the second episode of Versace.
I could think of a lot of them. Just let me pull up a list. An episode of The Alienist, maybe? I mean, seriously. The thing that I think helps Criss, even though he is playing a villain, there's always the exception to the rule. It's such a big performance. He's in every episode. He dominates the series. And we know they've watched it. I really wish Jack O'Connell was in here, because then that slap the stud thing wouldn't.
Me too.
Then I would be predicting Godless to win right now.
Mm-hmm.
One thing we should keep in mind also is that, in the last couple of years, I should say the last 3 years, because you can include Olive Kitteridge in this as well, is that, these limited series that have, is that the plural word of it? Series that have won for series have, basically swept the acting categories that they're nominated in. And so, that could be something that benefits him as well. It's just really hard for me to see them, giving it best limited series and not awarding the person who, is in every episode. But you are right, Riley. Benedict Cumberbatch and Patrick Melrose is a much more on its face Emmy-friendly performance from somebody who has already won an Emmy in an upset
when he was
year.
Not expected to win.
Yeah.
He was not supposed to get past Mark Ruffalo. Who else was in there? Oh, Martin Freeman, Billy Bob Thornton. He was not supposed to win that category. And I think Idris Elba was just off his Globe win. So he was not supposed to win that category. He only got in because the True Detective gentleman went to drama actor. And let's just face it, folks. I don't care if you want him to win. I understand why people would. He's not going to show up. He's not going to give an acceptance speech. So if that's the reason why you're voting, is to see him possibly accept this, it's not going to happen.
I will say this is a passion project for him, though, so maybe he wants to support it more than like Sherlock, which he's fine making once every 5 years or something.
Maybe, but
did anybody talk about Jeff Daniels? Did we just completely bypass?
I have him in last place. I have him in last place, but I think but mainly because he's in supporting.
Yeah,
I've seen more of his naked ass than I ever wanted to.
You take that back.
Him and Dennis Franz. Those are the best asses I've ever seen on TV.
People do win the category you're not expecting. So if this vote splits all over the place, then Jeff Daniels could win. But I don't. He's a very respected actor, so it's possible. But I think it's far more likely, although I'm not predicting it, for Godless.
Talk about somebody who won an Emmy unexpectedly. I think that he was in 5th place in our rankings the year that he won for The Newsroom and surprised everybody. And that, again, that was not a show like The Looming Tower that performed exceptionally well with the
I think
Emmys.
he and Jane Fonda were the only nominees, and that made
much
history
like
at
him
the Emmys
and
because
Michael
it was
Stuhlbarg, and I mean, it's not as if the newsroom at the end is on fire. So
that was the first Aaron Sorkin pilot that didn't receive a writing or directing nomination.
So maybe,
I'll say about Jeff Daniels, normally when we have people who are double nominated, like Riz Ahmed, Ann Dowd, Sarah Paulson, John Hamm, Allison Janney, and it's in this new voting system, they don't win their kind of lower category, which is, in this case, supporting. They win their main role.
Well, or you could be a Laurie Metcalf and not win any three of them. So remember, the Emmys can be cruel. So there is a chance he could walk away from both of these without an award.